From Orange County and the campus of Chapman University, this is the Chapman Business Report.
We're talking the California and Southern California economies on this edition of the Chapman Business Report, specifically the forecast revision, because my good friend Major Domo, Dr. Essie Adibi, puts out a forecast in late November for 2014, and then mid-year you see how you did and maybe revise it due to things you can't foresee. Sure. So let's talk first, we'll talk both the regional and the state. And as far as jobs go, I think how do you forecast do? I think it was pretty accurate, and things are pretty good.
Pretty good. Actually, let me take you back a little bit because it's very interesting. Since recession has started, which was 2007, California, Orange County, Southern California got hit really hard. We know that. We lost disproportionately higher share of jobs than even the national economy.
Sure. Orange County, for instance, just to give one example, was the epicenter for the subprime lending.
Subprime. Some of those companies totally disappeared. So 07, 08, 09, 10, 11, we underperformed the U.S. economy, both in terms of losing job and regaining job. 2012 was the first year that actually California showed up on the map. So if you rank the 10 states in the country that generated job by percentages, the fastest growing one, can you guess? North Dakota.
Sure, in the early years of
exactly.
recovery.
This is 2012.
Sure. North Dakota, Nebraska,
and
a lot of it was that oil.
Utah was the second, Texas was third, and California was fourth. When we got the 2013 numbers, there was huge revision in all the job categories in all over the state. For every area, there was an upward revision. So California turned out to be in 2013 the third fastest growing in terms of job creation. That actually we replaced Texas. North Dakota is still number one, Utah is number two, and California is number three.
From 2013, because I think currently Texas might be one and California number
Texas,
two.
Exactly. But when you put things in perspective, the first question is, why did they miss, the EDD, Labor Department, miss so many jobs? And that's understandable. You know, when recovery starts, EDD, they do sampling, and they usually miss the small businesses that are being formed and small businesses that are hiring one or two people. So once they get unemployment claim filing, every business has to file those with the state. It's a solid number. So the revision showed much better 2013 for everybody. Now, looking at 2014, our forecast was that we're going to generate about 350,000 jobs at the state level and about 35,000 jobs in Orange County. I'm just rounding the numbers. And I think we're right on target in terms of our forecast.
Looking at the last 12 months, so that's 6 months into your forecast, California, 340,000.
Exactly. So we think we're moving in the right track. Actually, if you look at our GDP forecast for this year, which is 2.2, for 2015, our GDP forecast is 3.1%, which is a little bit, better economy. And that would follow that California and Orange County, and for that matter, Southern California, is going to do even better in 2015 because as you recall, when we issue our update forecast in June, we go all the way to 2015. So putting 14 and 15 together now, we think Orange County is going to generate about 80,000 jobs over a 2-year period, and the state is going to do about 800,000 jobs over a 2-year period. So,
and by the way, this is now easily outstripping the national economy.
Exactly. We're catching up.
So the driving forces. We know, for instance, here in Southern California, an even bigger component is tourism, the convention business. They're turning them away over at the Disney Resort, so much so that what are they charging now to get into the park?
They're increasing the price every year.
To keep the crowds down,
No,
that's one big component.
They have an inelastic demand, so they can afford to increase price, but then still people go. Leisure and hospitality.
$700 is a lot for an annual pass.
Exactly. Leisure and hospitality is a good sector, definitely. That has been growing sector over the last few years. Combination of two factors. One is consumer spending picked up, domestic tourism, that is you and I going to Disneyland or Knott's Berry Farm, and at the same time, domestic coming from other part of the country to California, and foreigners coming because of the strength of, for example, euro helped it. So leisure hospitality is doing good, but you're missing the biggest sector.
Economy?
Biggest sector, construction. See, it's all about construction.
And it's not necessarily just residential, which is coming back. Multifamily is
even
strong.
even commercial, even
Sure.
commercial is coming back because vacancy rates have gone down, prices are firming up, and some activity is taking place. And remember, the reason I said it's all about construction. That's what hurt us the most, and that's what's helping
and still
us.
room to grow because
Oh, sure.
my figures, you'll probably correct them, say half the construction jobs are about back that we lost.
Yeah, well, it's going to be very difficult to go back to that number, the peak number, partly because, go-go time of 05, 06, actually we were overbuilding at that
Those
time.
workers are we're going to have to find new workers
Oh,
because they had to
it
go
is.
elsewhere.
Exactly. Actually, it is very difficult in construction sector to find the qualified workers, and there is a little bit of a wage pressure there. But the reason construction is so important, Pete, is because of multiplier. See, when you build a new home, especially residential, you have to fill it with appliances, landscaping, make 200 trips to Home Depot. All of that generates, activities, economic activity. So construction is doing very well. Professional business services is coming back as strong. That's a very important sector for our economy, for the state, partly because the average pay is very high, relatively speaking. These are attorneys, accountants, white-collar managerial workers, and that sector is showing decent growth, and that is really helping us to generate aggregate job growth.
But do you worry in a sector like that when you look at the demographics and a place like Orange County, certainly Northern California, those are good middle-class jobs, and on balance, on total, a lot of those folks are leaving this area because it's too expensive. They can't buy a home, they can't start a family.
Yeah, that actually we can tie that now and talk about the housing market. Part of the problem that we see is still California, relatively speaking, has much higher home prices, and that's the primary number. And then we have much higher utility costs, energy costs, food costs, healthcare costs. So
Can that ever change? Can you get more?
No,
how do you get more affordable housing?
Yeah, it is very difficult. We're always going to have that disparity between home prices from here and, let's say, Arizona or Nevada. However, if the income is not, that gap between income does not justify that home prices, then what people do is says, well, I can go to Texas and maybe I lose $10,000 of salary, but I can buy a home, same home, half price. So that is one of our biggest concerns, especially when we're forecasting our home prices, which probably we're going to talk about.
Let's talk about it right now. We had, won't say almost ridiculous gains. Great if you're a homeowner, especially if you bought fairly recently. Orange County 2013, 20%. California 25% on total, but that's cut by 3/4 in 2014. You
Exactly.
Maybe 5%.
Exactly.
Gain.
First, let's understand.
That look like it's going to hit?
I think so.
Because sales have been very soft as we sit here.
Yes, very soft. But
in this state.
Exactly. Let's look at first the 20% Orange County, 25% California. Part of it was changing the mix, because they take the median price of homes sold, and if you sell a bunch of expensive home versus cheaper home, there is some exaggeration on that
far
number.
Fewer, I think foreclosures are 1% to 2% now of the market.
Exactly.
They were much higher.
They disappeared. So we knew that 20% and 25% is not going to be sustainable. And our forecast was a single digit, between 4 and 6, 7% for most areas of California. Now, why did we forecast that? Again, we can look at the factors. Demand is positive in terms of real demand, job creation, but investors are out. So one component, that's why home sales are down, because we compare everything to last year, and last year there were a whole bunch of investors doing cash buyout, buying home. So they're out, but real job is helping, that's a real demand. Affordability is a little bit problematic, that's bad, and inventory I think is going to increase, partly because home sales is down.
By more than 50% in Southern
Exactly.
California.
Home sales are down, and also those people who were underwater, with their mortgages. Their mortgages were above the home value. Now they see opportunity. They recaptured some of that equity, and those are the one who, that's what makes us worried, might look at other destination to live. And that could be people going from Orange County to Inland Empire, or from Inland Empire to Arizona, or to Texas. And that, I think, is going to play out also. So we think a single digit, 4 or 5 percentage point, roughly 5%. That's what we see for this year and next year, barring any unexpected. Why do I say barring unexpected? If inflation is going to show up, and if mortgage rates are going to shoot up over 5%, we might not even see single digit. That's one of our biggest worry.
merger mania. What would you pay for a professional sports franchise, and how much should the city of Anaheim give in negotiating with the Angels on that same subject? Just some of our topics on future Chapman Business Report.